and welcome to another episode of the Influential Nonprofit. As you know, I'm your host, Marianne. I work with nonprofit leaders to grow their influence, leverage relationships so they can generate the resources they need to move their mission. That is my passion. And I'm here with Luke Emerson, who is working on his passion project. And we're going to talk all about that. And it's called Tips for People. And I'm so excited to have you here, Luke, and to talk about this really cool thing you're developing.
Oh, thank you, Marianne. I was excited to talk to you today. First of all, I love your energy. I'm fired up. I'm in upstate New York. It's a little bit dark and snowy up here, so I'm happy to link up with you today and feel your energy.
So people will be listening to this in a couple weeks, but like this is we're recording this right before holiday break, so we're kind of wrapping business up. And so thanks for spending a little bit of time with me before you switch the focus to the holidays. Sure. And I always start this podcast with the same question, which is, tell me something that you're proud of that you don't get to brag about much.
Well, I'm proud of my kids, to be honest with you. They've done a wonderful job throughout their lives, and now they're older now, and I get to see them growing and moving my son Jack into his first apartment. So that's awesome. And so I'm super proud of them for sure.
See, it's his first apartment. That's all.
Yeah. So tomorrow's the day. We're going to move him in. It's big.
Okay. So, I want to, before we get into tips for people, you have a really interesting career path. You said you were working at top companies, Procter Gamble, AstraZeneca, and then you were like, you know what, I would like to go to nonprofit. So what was the big switch that called you in from leaving corporate to going into the nonprofit world?
Okay. Yeah, so Marianne, majority of my professional career I spent in the corporate world. So as you mentioned, I worked with Procter Gamble Pharmaceuticals and AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals in sales, marketing, and training. And about 13 years ago, the town I lived in, Rochester, New York, was going through some challenging times. We were built on big companies like Kodak and Xerox and Bausch and Lomb, and they were struggling. So I wanted to do my part to try to save Rochester. So I left my corporate career and came into the University of Rochester. My wife thought I was crazy. We were talking earlier. My first job was in the annual fund. So my expense account at my job was more than a salary that I accepted. And my wife just thought I was crazy, but it was a passion project for me. And so I decided to join University of Rochester to help rebuild the community. And that's what I did.
And did you rebuild the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first job was to go out and meet business leaders and bring them back into the university and tell them about all the great work that we're doing and build their support. And that's what I did. And it worked out great.
That is so cool. So I've always worked in nonprofit, but I do think it's like, I think there is something inside of you that's just going to call you to do this work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never looked back. I loved it throughout my time here at the university. I started at the very bottom of the annual fund and then worked my way up through to where I am now. And now I'm assistant vice president in charge of domestic and international major gift fundraising.
Okay.
So,
and we're going to get into tips for people. Before that, I want to ask you one thing, which I think is, what do you think is key to you being an effective fundraiser? Like, what are that maybe that you see in yourself or others, that what is a trait or strategy that has made you successful?
The one thing is listening. That's number one. You have to listen, right? You have to listen to what your donors are saying so you can really truly identify the impact they want to have. So for me, that's the most important trait. When I interview folks, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, you're speaking my language, because I love that so much, because that's what so when I coach and train people on, developing their influence, the first step is we release the outcome, which means whatever happens, right? If there's something happened, that's amazing, that's great. And I'm okay either way. So that you can be like open and actually receive the person, not through the lens you want to see them through, but for who they really are. Because if we want
Right.
something, we tend to only pick up the information that supports the thing we
That's
want,
right.
right?
Right. Right.
But the second thing is listen. You don't have to pitch, you don't have to sell, you don't have to convince, you listen. And in the
Yeah.
listening and connecting with people, you're hearing what their values are, you're hearing what their needs are, and then you can match them, right? Support their values and needs. And
Yeah.
that's what that is the game changer, right?
Without a doubt. Yeah. We talk a lot about listening to learn versus listening to respond. Right. And when you listen to respond, it's about you, right? It's about your plan. And when you listen to learn, it's about the donor or whoever's sitting across from you.
And here's the thing. I love to talk. I love to share my stories. And also, I already know my story. So and you can really tap into people just by listening and not even listening, right? Because not even listening to respond in a sense, it's just like just listening without having to fix anything, solve anything, comment on anything. It's just listening, validating, understanding. Because when people feel seen and heard, they relax. And when they relax, now they're open.
Right. Right.
And it's keeping people in that place of relaxation and openness that allows them to receive new information. And I don't know why people like, you gotta pitch them and sell them and rah, rah, rah. Like,
No, that's certainly not our style, not my style for sure. I love listening to people, learning about their stories, and then identifying needs that we have here at the university and matching them up. That's what we do.
that's it. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
All
Right.
right. So what's tips for people?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I started at the very bottom of this organization. It's a large organization, right? The University of Rochester has over 35,000 employees, so it's large. And
Wow.
our fundraising program is very large as well, and I love it. I started at the very bottom, all the way up to where I am now. What I felt like I was missing was that impact in local communities, right? Because I spent a lot of time with strategy, hiring, admin work, that kind of stuff, but I was kind of missing that impact. So I came up with the idea tipsforpeople.com just so I could feel that impact again. And what it is, it's a new concept for our industry. And I definitely want to talk to you a little bit about that, but it's a site that collects great information in video micro learning clips. And so we could talk a little bit about that too, but that's new as well. And then what happens is it allows people to come directly to the site and learn very quickly how to close a larger gift, how to write a year-end appeal, how to hire someone, great interviewing questions. So my goal is to really get experts in the field together in one spot. And that's why I came up with tipsforpeople.com.
And so these are sort of short format, like 2 minutes, 3 like little lessons that people can learn. Mhm.
So which is totally different for our industry, right? Because our industry is built on courses and webinars and conferences, right? And this is kind of the opposite. This is a 3 to 5 minute brief actionable tip that will really help someone in need.
I was talking to somebody the other day and I was saying how if you put a 30-minute video in front of somebody, they're like, oh, I don't have time to watch that. But if you would take that video and a 30-minute video and drop it into 3-minute, 10 3-minute little stories, people will actually watch every story and spend more time watching that video. Right?
Yeah.
Then because 30 minutes, because it's a little I could do 3 minutes, I can do 3 minutes, I can do 3 minutes. And then you wind up spending 45 minutes, going through these videos. And also I want to say one other thing is that's, like I love TikTok. I'm not on Instagram that much. I don't do like stories or reels on Instagram, but I love the TikTok. And that's exactly that format, right? It's here's a short thing. Here's one lesson. Here's one takeaway, go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 2 things there. Like if you look at a webinar or a course, let's take a webinar, for example, lots of great information, but there's usually 2 or 3 nuggets within the webinar. So the idea is let's take those nuggets and package those, right? And really save people time. And to your point about social media and TikTok and Instagram, the attention span for folks now is much, much lower. right? I mean, it's lots of quick scrolls. I mean, if you look at folks on their phone, they're scrolling and they're getting through a lot of data. So that's what this idea capitalizes on.
It's almost like scrolling through that way. And
Yeah.
so, and you're gonna have experts from all over, right? And then submitting content, and then people can like subscribe to this, correct?
Yeah, so the way it works is it's going to be two steps. The first step is to aggregate tips from experts. That's what we're doing right now. So pretty excited about the growth of the site, especially over the next month or two. You're going to see the site change quite a bit. We have a lot of experts that are coming on in, which is great. The way it works is when you come in, you become a creator, and there's a revenue share platform set up. So for each purchase of your video, you get a share of the revenue. That's how it works from a creator side. From a user side, we will have a subscription plan. Right now it is pay-per-view, and the prices are really, really low and reasonable to help nonprofits in need. So you can come in and search for your specific, a tip on like closing larger gifts, or, managing stress in the workplace, whatever that is, you can search for it and then purchase the tip and watch it.
Gotcha. And then but then eventually you said it kind of be subscription where people would like pay one thing and they can watch a bunch.
Yeah, so we'll have both. We'll have both options up, without a doubt.
It's sort of like how iStock photo operates, right? Like you can pay a certain fee to get a certain number of video or photos, or you can like do it one by one. I think we're pretty used to that model. And also, when I met you, I thought this was a really cool idea because we have not been, being delivered content in this way.
It's totally different for our industry, right? Because, we like to really, really expand our thoughts and add and talk. And this is really, really just getting down to the nitty gritty, the actual brief, actionable item.
Right. And then if some people like saw my video and they're like, she's cool, I want to learn more, and then they could learn more about me.
Right. So a couple different things that we're seeing already with the site is that people are buying tips and then reaching out to the creators, to your point, and saying like, hey, I really liked what you thought. Could you come on down and work with my staff? So that's been pretty interesting. The other fun thing we're seeing is so I just brought a creator on. Her name's Tiffany Allen. She's on YouTube. She has about 27,000 subscribers on YouTube and 300 plus videos. And what she's using it for is kind of side-by-side marketing, to drive more people to her YouTube business.
Yes.
Which I think is really, really interesting.
Dang, 27,000 YouTube subscribers.
Yeah, she's awesome, by the way. You should check her out. She's really, really cool.
Yeah, what is her expertise?
So she is like us, fundraising consultant. She actually runs a company called Boss on a Budget.
Oh, cool. All right.
Really cool. She's awesome.
And yeah, so also, I mean, for me personally, because we've talked about this, I'm already doing this. So I take my videos like this and I have somebody come and they like chop up some cool little pieces that that I feed out to people. So I'm already kind of doing this. I take, oh, that's the, oh, that's a cool little nugget. And we send that out. And I think it's great. I'm wondering, like, what is this all across the nonprofit? Are we talking HR to fundraising, everything?
Yeah, great question. Eventually, when we build the site out, it'll be all of that. It'll be a one-stop shop for all things nonprofit, all things in the industry. So without a doubt. And it's been fun too, to be honest, because I've talked to people from around the world that are interested in it. So it has global reach with local impact, which I think is pretty interesting. And I didn't expect that to happen, but I've talked to a woman named Sabine in Argentina, talked to folks all over Canada, Mexico, so all over. It's been fun.
That's amazing. I work in a world of where I call it the influential third. So it's not, I don't have to decide, is this good or bad, black or white? And I had a call with somebody the other day, and it would, she was like, am I confident? Am I not? Like, you're all the things, right? And we don't have to decide if it's this or this, right? It can be all the things. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because when we move past polarity, okay, I'll give you an example. Let me give you a better example. So I was working with a client and I was doing some training with her board, and some people on the board were really taken to it, and some people on the board are like, meh, and which is fine, and she's like, so maybe you could just teach the staff. And I said, well, there's people on the board that want to learn? And she's like, yeah. I said, okay. So she was thinking of polarity. It's either board or staff, right? And I was thinking, okay, what if everybody can get what they want? Okay, what does the scenario look like when everybody gets what they want? Because I truly believe in most situations that can happen, right? So, and I said, what if we did this? We take the people on your board who really want to learn, the other people who don't, that's cool, right? And I train them and you and the staff. And that way you get the training you want. The people get the training they want. The people who don't want to do it don't have to do it.
Right,
We
right.
all win.
Yeah.
I get to make the impact that I want, win-win. She's like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. So when you move beyond polarity, that's when the opportunities or the creative problem solving emerges. So what I like about this project is this is a win-win-win-win-win, right? Like everybody can win. We get cool information, like good information, like targeted to your specific need at the specific time. We get to generate revenue, get exposure. Like it's just and because that's when you look at that's when the new ideas emerge, is when you think beyond, things need to be long or to be impactful. You're like, well, no, that's, when we move beyond that polarity, it's like, how are people really learning today? And speaking for me personally, if you would go and watch one of my videos and be like, that's really cool, there's a lot more long form stuff you could take advantage of if you want it. And right.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I talked to Tiffany about, because her videos on YouTube are longer.
Yeah.
And so she did a couple of short tips, and then, I'm referring people to her YouTube site for more content. And I'm working with a couple other creators about that too, putting some short bursts of information on tips4people.com and then driving people to their longer form.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that.
I mean, it's a great intro. And there's a couple of, not for nonprofit, but there's a couple of creators that I follow that are really good at giving communication tips, and it's like and I've learned a lot to say, just from watching, people give, really good advice on like how to navigate an argument or something like that. And they're like, okay, here's 3 things. And it's all in like a minute or 2. And then you're like, oh, there you go. Thank you. And then I'm out.
Well, on the site right now, we have information on how to have a challenging conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Like, just here are the steps to do it. Somebody in a smaller nonprofit might not know how to, or might not feel comfortable doing so.
Right.
So,
or in a big one, hon.
Or in a big one, right? Yeah, right.
Everyone has challenges in communication.
And I think that speaking of challenges in our industry, everybody's so busy, right? As consultants, it's hard to think about adding new business. And that's, we talked about win-win-win for everybody. One of the things I like about this concept too is it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? Mm-hmm. So it finds you new people 24 hours a day.
Right. And from the nonprofit side, I have access to a lot of really great information for not a lot of money.
That's correct.
I don't have to like engage in like thousands of dollar contract with somebody,
Yep. Yeah. Well, and to be fair, it's a great way to kind of interview folks.
Sure.
Right. Because you can check it out before you spend $1,000.
Sure. You want to date before you commit.
Yeah. So that's what we're seeing already. Early on, is that people are testing it out and then calling for more information.
Yeah. Okay.
Really cool.
So let's say, 2-3 years from now, what's the vision? What do you want to have in this tips for people? And by the way, it's tips. If you're listening to this, it's tips for the number 4, tips for people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tips4people.com. Absolutely. I mean, I want it to be regarded as one of the top resources for small nonprofits, right? Because right now everything is kind of scattered, right? It's hard to find. Some people ask, well, why can't they just look on the internet for free? And I always say, have you ever worked at a small nonprofit? Because when you talk to them, they don't necessarily have the time to peruse the internet, right? They're worried about day-to-day operations. They might not have the knowledge to know just to discern if it's good information or bad information. So I think my goal would be to have this site be the go-to resource
Yeah.
for small
You're
nonprofits.
doing the vetting,
Yeah,
right? Like when you
right.
Google, like if you don't know what you're gonna get, and then so it's like basically like you're vetting these resources or people,
Yep.
and you don't have to go digging. And I do like, yeah, one of the things that's really shifted in the last 10 years is like information is free and readily available. Okay. I don't gatekeep information. When I wrote my book and my asked my book, writing coach, like, what do I tell them? Just tell them everything. Tell them Google information is, people don't pay for information from somebody like me or somebody like you. They
Yep.
pay for our personal, right, approach and our personal
Yep.
coaching. So I'm happy to share information.
Yep.
And so, and in the sense that information is free and readily available, it's free and readily available. So it's sometimes hard to then you have to do your own vetting. And like, I gotta dig and I gotta talk. Does this sound right to you? I don't know. And so yeah, you just go to a source that has all that, and you can just pop. I mean, I'm imagining you just pop in whatever you want to talk about and see what videos come up, and if you want to, purchase
Absolutely.
those.
As we continue to build it out, definitely that's something that you can do. So if you're nervous about closing a large gift, you can search that out for tips that other people in the industry use, right? I think that's an interesting one because sometimes people aren't comfortable. I work with a local nonprofit here, and their board members are not comfortable asking for money. But then when I talk to them about visualizing the impact that ask will have, right? Think about a specific person that ask will impact. And then they start to relax a little bit.
Right.
And they say, you know what, that's right. That's what we should be thinking about. Not nervous about asking for money, but thinking about the impact that's going to have.
You're
So
right. Right.
Yeah. So I think
there's a phrase somebody taught me, and I'm sure he didn't come up with this, but you can't be nervous when you're in service.
oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah.
And I
might share and reapply that.
I was in a production studio filming some like keynotes and filming some content. And you get the lights on you and the makeup, and you're like, oh, it feels so serious. And he's like, you can't be nervous. It's not about you, it's about them. You can't be nervous when you're in service. I always remember that, like, it's not about me. How does it look? It's just I'm in service. Did I say everything the exact right way or something? Like,
well, to be fair, I was a little bit nervous today. So thank you.
you were
so excited to be on here. I was like,
you're
awesome.
doing great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
So I just really like people who, I just admire you, and I just want to witness building something new, finding a need, filling that need, giving more resources to our industry. And I appreciate that. So I'm happy to highlight this.
Oh, thank you.
So if people want it, it's tips for people, TIPS, the number 4 at people.com. And so people can go there and check it out, right?
Yeah, it's super easy. There's 2 steps to upload your tip. Just become a partner on the site, and then there's a link right on there to upload your tips. It's that easy.
And then if I want to go find a tip.
Yeah, if you want to go find a tip, there's a search function, just like on YouTube, where you can search by key categories on there. The fun thing for me too is to hear different approaches, right? So that's what we're really looking for right now as we start to aggregate the tips. We're looking for nonprofit law tips.
Oh yeah.
We're looking for Chat GPT or other artificial intelligence tips around that. We're always looking for fundraising tips. So if you have those, and then I've listed a couple other categories on my LinkedIn profile. And if anybody has any questions, I would have them just reach out to me. I'm always happy to chat.
And
I'm
we'll
on
put,
LinkedIn.
you're on LinkedIn, Luke
Yep.
Emerson, and then we'll put and we'll put your email in the show notes, and people,
Sure.
yeah. And I'm excited for this. Also, I promised you content and did not deliver
I
it.
know.
So now
Well,
I'm feeling really bad.
I'd love to have you on the new year. I think,
I will. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you the truth. For everyone here to know that I am awesome, not perfect. I tried to do one and it kept coming up like 3 or 4 minutes. I think the key for me is just to do my regular thing and have, people like listen and pull. I
yeah.
was okay. Wasn't that Mark Twain? And he said, I wanted to write you a longer letter, but I didn't have time. So like simple and clear is always harder to get to than
So,
convoluted and long,
yeah, yeah.
and
But I think
it's a lot of skill to be able. I'm just saying it takes skill to be able to dilute something down to its very essence, right? That takes I think I just need some practice.
I think that's what makes this site so valuable, though, is the content you're getting is what you need to hear. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. Yeah, so the videos are 3 to 5 minutes long, as you mentioned. And then I always ask for a brief introduction to the videos. And if you check the site out, you can see some examples that are up there right now of those.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I promise I'm going to get on it, and because I want to grow with you. And all right,
Thank
my
you.
last
Well,
question. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I had a question for you too, as long as I had you, in
Yeah.
terms of any advice for someone like me who's just kind of getting started out
Yes.
in this industry.
100%. This is the wisdom I would share. I don't give advice, I give wisdom. So advice, I don't tell people what to do, but wisdom is learned from learned experience, right? And when I share wisdom, that means you get to receive this. If it resonates with you, great. If not, that's okay too. I say that all the time. But really, and I've done a podcast on this, there's 5 stages of development. One is, ideation. And then the second stage is concentration and focus. And the third stage is momentum. Fourth is stabilization. Fifth is integration, meaning you've completed all the stages. But most people, they get ideation. Oh, this is an idea. And then number 2 is concentration and focus, where you're going to be putting out a lot more than you're getting back.
Okay.
And that takes faith, right? And devotion to activity, sovereignty, right? Devotion to activity, no matter the outcome. I have a vision. Most people get tripped up in phase 2. Oh, this isn't, I thought this would take off. Oh, like somebody said, I did a workshop about podcasting, and this woman's like, you need to have 40 episodes before you get traction in the market. I'm like, 40? Like, I'm going to be like 5, like, why isn't everyone, it takes time and focus. And then, but once you get through that, then you're going to hit momentum, which is like, woo, it's like a roller coaster ride. And I think people have ever created something and feel like it's a lot of ups and downs. And then what creates the stabilization is the systems to put in place to stabilize. So now it's flowing. But that concentration of focus, which is devotion to that vision, no matter what's happening. And that's especially like in marketing, when people, they like, I did this and nobody responded. Yeah, you're not going to get a lot back in the beginning, and that's okay, and that's just part of it,
Yeah, and I think that's just such a great point, especially as we're, doing this project, trying to introduce a new idea to an industry, right? There's mostly positive feedback, but there's been some interesting, feedback as well. So
it just takes time to catch on, and that's okay. And this isn't anything anybody tries new, is a new idea, a new campaign, a new organization. It in the beginning, you give out a lot more than you get back, and that's just part of it. And just living with that feeling of, like holding space for, I'm so excited, and why isn't this, it's that frustration, right? And that can create feelings of sort of like guilt and shame and inadequacy, will cause people to stop. And most ideas don't work because people didn't give them that devotion to activity. it's not like, oh, we gave it our 100%, because people say, well, how long do we ride with this? I'm like, if you can say you gave it 100%, like for 6 months, and you didn't see any movement, but like, we have to like be willing to give more than we get in the beginning. And that's, that's it. Wow, no one's ever asked me a question before.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. That was great. No, thank you.
Thanks for allowing me. Now there's gonna be my tip. Now that could be my little tip, right?
I love that. I love that for sure. Now you said you had one more question.
Yes, I always end with the same question. So obviously we're best friends now. And if you're ever in St. Louis or I'm in Rochester, we go to karaoke. What is your go-to song?
I knew you were going to ask that. I have a couple. Probably the one that comes to mind just really fast is Born to Be Wild. I think that would be awesome to sing that.
That would be great to sing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really see people sing that, but I think people would be just screaming along.
Yeah. That's why I thought I'd like to try. What's your favorite? What do you sing?
Okay, so I had somebody ask me this the other day, and he's a lawyer. So, and he was like, and I said, well, I have a lot of them. Like, yeah. Come on, what did listen? If I don't have, like, I've been singing All That Jazz, Catherine Zeta-Jones, the Chicago movie version for years, and I can crush that one.
Oh, nice. Good.
Yeah. So, and there's some little little fake tap dancing that goes with it. Stuff like that.
When I come out there, we'll have to hang out and do that.
Yeah, I like a dive bar, like me, it's all just a little bit broken,
Right.
I feel the most at home. So there's a couple places we hang out here. But yeah, I can say a lot about person's karaoke number. That's all I'm going to say. It's a little window into your world.
Right. Great question.
All right, Luke, thank you so much for sharing this. I hope everybody checks out the website and watches as it continues to grow. We get more and more people adding some great content. And I can't wait to see where you go with this.
Marianne, thank you for your time. I really appreciate having me. Look forward to staying connected.
You bet. All right, and that's it for this episode of The Influential Nonprofit. And if you want to connect with me a little bit more around working and on my Uplevel Your Influence course or some of the coaching and training that I do, there's always a link in the show notes where you can book a quickie call with me. I love meeting people. I love having these calls. Of course, I'm a really good listener and you'll get great wisdom no matter what happens. I release my own outcome. And so I just love to meet people. So if you're interested in possibly growing your influence and leveraging your relationships, let me know and we can talk about it. And that's it for this episode of The Influential Nonprofit.